Welcome back, everyone. My name's Tommy McCarthy. We are Cyber News Global, and this is Let's Talk Cyber. Well, what can I say about today's guest? We are honoured. He spent some time with us in Aberdeen a few weeks ago, and there was absolutely no question that I needed this guy on Let's Talk Cyber. We are going to be speaking to the Right Honourable Stephen McPartland. But before we get into our podcast today, I'd like to welcome Stephen and ask him to tell us a little bit about who he is. Stephen, welcome to Let's Talk Cyber.
Hi, Tommy. Thank you very much for having me on Let's Talk Cyber. It's very exciting to be here, been looking forward to it. I do a number of these features and podcasts, and I think, who is Stephen McPartland? Well, I was a member of Parliament for 14 years in the British Parliament, and during that time, I also spent 13 years getting board-level experience at senior levels, non-execs and a variety of other roles. But within those 14 years as a member of Parliament, I was briefly National Security Minister. I was on the Joint Committee National Security Strategy for 3 years, which oversaw the architecture of intelligence and security in the United Kingdom. Did a variety of roles around regulatory reform and regulation. So huge number of roles within Parliament. And I think the last gig that I did was a big review on cybersecurity as an enabler of economic growth.
Stephen, and that's exactly why we're here, to talk about the McPartland review of cybersecurity and economic growth. So then I guess, Stephen, the question I need to ask you is, what can we expect as business leaders to take from the McPartland review on cybersecurity and economic growth? What are our business leaders going to take from this report?
So the review was commissioned by the British Prime Minister, and I was reporting to the Deputy Prime Minister. It was independent, so I was very proud that they named her after me. That's a big deal in the United Kingdom. But the reason for it is they were very, very concerned about how vulnerable our economy is. The United Kingdom is one of the most digitized economies on the planet. And as a result of that, depending on what day of the week and what time it is, we're either the first or second most attacked economy in the world. And the Office of Budget Responsibility inside the United Kingdom, they've done an analysis to suggest that a successful cyber attack on the British economy will cost 1.6% of our GDP. Now, to pop that into perspective, Tommy, we spend about 2% of GDP on our armed forces. So every year, if you're having a successful cyber attack once a week, that's 1% a week. And you know how many millions of attacks there are every single day. So there is a great vulnerability because we're incredibly digitized and incredibly interconnected. One of the other aspects beneath this layer was that in the United Kingdom, a lot of people will appreciate that most SMEs in particular have very little cybersecurity. A lot of them don't even have basic cyber hygiene. And one of the most astonishing statistics is that 99% of all companies in the United Kingdom are SMEs. So we're essentially saying that, if you're a business leader, the chances are that you're in partnership or your supply chain is working with companies that essentially have very little basic cyber hygiene. So when you think about some of the big British companies that people all over the world know, they're huge companies, household names, in the United Kingdom, realistically, they often stand on the shoulders of 4,000 or 5,000 SMEs. And those 4,000 or 5,000 SMEs are putting their products together and getting them all there on time. And essentially, those companies, if you're going to attack that big British name that has big budgets and all the abilities to fight off these hackers and everybody else that wants to scam, the supply chain don't. And those big companies are often just in time. They need that product or that service at that particular moment in time. And we had a big hack in the United Kingdom in the Ministry of Defence where people were shocked. How could the Ministry of Defence be hacked? And it released a lot of information about people in the British military. The Ministry of Defence wasn't hacked. It was a third-party supplier, somebody in their supply chain that was hacked. And that's what happens. So if you're a business leader, I think one of the big issues is how secure is your supply chain? How are you in terms of happy working with your partners? Is your product really cyber secure?
Stephen, frightening statistics there. And I have to hold my hands up and say I haven't got through the entire report as yet. It's been a busy period, but, looking at some of the statistics, as a business owner, business leader, a small SME working in cybersecurity, it's the kind of information that would keep you awake at night. because it demonstrates the vulnerabilities that we're all exposed to. I guess it takes me on to my next question is, what do you think the future looks like, when it comes to cybersecurity in the UK, given some of the points you've just touched on in relation to how vulnerable the supply chain is through the SMEs?
So one of the big challenges about cybersecurity is it has a lot of negative connotations, especially within the United Kingdom. So there's a element of shame if you're the victim of a hack. So people often don't want to admit it. That causes some issues. So people often don't come forward. There's an element of, oh, well, the insurance will put my premium up. So there's a fiscal element to it. And then there's a bit of concern that, oh, well, my customers or the people I'm selling into, those B2B relationships, they may now be a bit more wary and want to put more restrictions or more bureaucracy on me. So as a result of that, it's almost like this, shameful hidden situation. And then a lot of people, even within the IT community, they're often not big fans of the cybersecurity community. It's seen as a way of stopping people doing stuff. Oh, just to turn my laptop on, I now need to do this, 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 and this. So when I was asked by the Prime Minister and the team to undertake the independent review, I didn't want to talk about it from a defensive point of view. I said, we need to think about cybersecurity as an enabler of economic growth. Let's talk about growth, jobs, opportunity, innovation. Let's make the United Kingdom cybersecurity technology superpower and then go off there and export it. Let's be the safest place in the world to do business and the toughest place in the world to commit cybercrime.
Awesome. Sounds amazing. In fact, it should be in a book. There's no question. That's they're the ingredients for a great trilogy of books about how secure the UK could be. I guess that you would have been in government when we hosted the AI summit that was held in the UK. So what's your belief and your opinion on the challenges that UK business community face with the introduction of AI? Because everybody's getting really concerned about what role AI will have in the future. Short-term 5 years, long-term 10 years. The predictions are that AI is going to revolutionize how we do business and make us all redundant. What's your own views on that?
So I think AI is a huge opportunity. So AI is essentially how you manipulate data to come up with different decisions or products or services. But cybersecurity is how do you protect that data? And it's cybersecurity, resilience and recovery. So how do you ensure that nobody's manipulating the data that you're manipulating? And in essence, AI creates this massive opportunity to go off and really stimulate and be another technological revolution. So AI is a huge opportunity, but it's only a tool in the box. And you need great cybersecurity in order to protect that AI. Now, AI itself, one of the problems we have is it's the same with cybersecurity in the sense of it's going to be making decisions for people about people. So you can create whatever environment you want and whatever technical solutions you want. But at the end of the day, you're going to be providing that product to a human. And those humans will either use it or find a way around it or not engage with it. So I think with AI, it's a massive opportunity, but it's a tool in a box. And you have to think of it like the combustion engine. So if you think of the combustion engine, they replaced horses, that's correct. And there was a lot of businesses who were in the business of providing services to horses, everything from stabling to a variety of other foods and saddles, you name it. But the combustion engine, it wasn't just about a combustion engine that did cars. That combustion engine led to rockets leaving this planet and going to the moon and putting satellites in space that led to global communications, that's led to the digitized, worldwide, globalized economy that we have now. So that combustion engine, although it did displace some people and some products and services, it created a massive, unimaginable world and opportunity. And in that unimaginable world and opportunity, what we've got to be better at, because we're always poor at this during a revolution, is those people who are being displaced, is how do we actually transition them into those jobs? There's a massive cybersecurity skills gap. So why don't we ensure that those industries that may get a little bit displaced, or those people, why don't we think about career transition and providing training to those people so that they can work in these new industries that we've not even dreamed of to exist yet?
So I guess we don't need to worry too much at the moment about being completely replaced by all things AI, but actually embrace the opportunities that AI is bringing to the table. Would that be a fair summary?
Very much so. And also, you know better than me, as do a lot of your listeners. We haven't really got AI yet. We've literally got fancy machine learning.
For sure. For sure. I notice you've been very busy. We were so grateful to host you in Aberdeen. No sooner were you in Aberdeen, you popped up at an event in London. You seem to be all over the globe right now. I notice you're spending a little bit of time focusing on the Middle East, particularly in the GCC, the Gulf region. What opportunities do you believe that exist, if any, for UK companies out in that region?
So cybersecurity as a massive opportunity, not only to stimulate growth in the British economy, it's one of those wonderful services that actually is whole economy wide. It can stimulate everything from transport across to food manufacturing if you're providing everything in a safe and responsible way. But I think what I wanted is cybersecurity be a fourth pillar. So globally, these GCC countries, they're already out there. They're already buying our insurance services, our legal services, and our financial services. So why don't you buy our cybersecurity services to secure the other three? So essentially, we want to become the world leader at actually providing cybersecurity services to keep all your other services that you're purchasing safe. And one of the things that we're very hopeful of is that when you see trade missions and everything else going on, you'll always see some kind of cybersecurity provider present at them. We have to embed cybersecurity into business. I persuaded the Treasury that cybersecurity is the cost of doing business. That means that it can be CapEx. That means that there are opportunities around how you account for that. Cybersecurity is something that we can go out and be a global export lead. We have a whole variety of organizations, everything from intelligence services across to a whole variety of innovative services, from quantum, crypto, you name it. So cybersecurity is this massive opportunity to be out there exporting to friendly countries who are already buying all our other services.
Sounds like a plan, Stephen, and makes complete sense to me as well. I guess from my own point of view, I'd like to ask you to give us a closing remark, given the fact that you're no longer in government, so you can speak a bit more freely. What would be any words of advice to our business listeners? Because they're the people really that we're communicating with, business owners, business listeners that are running their own small companies, looking at expanding, looking at collaborating overseas. What words of advice would you have on a closing remark for our business listeners today?
So I know a lot of people just think cybersecurity is just another cost. It's the IT department should be looking at. It's not really that important. One of the challenges we saw in the review, which came up with 16 recommendations, was that it was never really seen as a board level issue. It was always seen as something that was dealt with in the IT department. So I have a very simple question I like to pose to those business owners. And that is, do you have the cash flow to survive an effective cyber incident to shut your business down for 2 or 3 weeks? Are you happy enough to be able to say that you can pay your bills, you can pay your staff, and that you can carry on in business? The reality is that 50 to 60% of businesses who face a cyber incident are out of business within 6 months. It doesn't matter how big they are, whether they're small or large. The statistics don't lie. And most of those companies are out of business within 6 months.
Yeah, and that's the tragedy. I don't think people realize the impact that a successful, simple cyber attack can have on their organization when they've stopped doing their day-to-day business. We see it quite often now, and it's always after the fact, unfortunately, that people pay attention to the challenges that, not even sophisticated cyber attacks have. Simple phishing attacks, they're becoming more and more prolific. They're happening on such a regular basis. There's no question that the McPartland report or review is a comprehensive read that certainly should be considered for every business leader. You can find it on the Cyber News Global website. You'll see the link at the end of this podcast. The Right Honourable Stephen McPartland, you're doing phenomenal work in the private sector now. We applaud you and we embrace your support, because very few people that come out of government even consider what's next, for the small business leaders. So we are, absolutely over the moon that you're in this space, working alongside cybersecurity leaders. Stephen, I wish we had more time to speak. All I can say is thank you so much for your time. We look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you very much, Tommy. Pleasure to be here.